Peace, power, prosperity. What's going on? Rob Blackstorm here. I have my special guest, Mel, Divine Feminine Works, and I
What's
have
going on,
Monique
everybody?
Russell here, the Moon Mama.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Welcome, 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 welcome. All right, it's still early. People haven't come in. Yo, people starting to come in now. Okay, that's looking good. It's looking good. So how you guys doing? What's going on, ladies? Long time no see. I was under the weather the weekend. We usually do the Sunday thing.
Yeah.
But we double backed, much better now. Feeling better, back all chisel, meet the new me. How y'all doing?
Are you chiseled? Are you chiseled?
Nah, I'm not chiseled. I'm still soft. I'm no tender. Still poke me in the middle, like
That's very
like a Pillsbury dope boy. But I feel that way in my head. You got to think it
that's where
before
it
you create.
starts.
It's all about the thoughts and the ideas. How was y'all weekend? Y'all week?
Come on, Mel, you go first.
Yeah, it was like that for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. Tired, like just very like feeling drained for the most part.
Yeah,
But other
yeah.
than that, not bad. Can't complain.
I would say I feel I feel slightly scattered. I do. I can feel I feel restricted by the energy that's coming through also. Like slightly imprisoned by it um and I'm just watching. I'm just witnessing everything.
Yeah. It's a lot of changes going on. AI is the big thing right now. Chat GPT, artificial intelligence as a whole. We had the lunar eclipse popping off earlier this or last month, I should say.
Mhm.
A lot of energy, a lot of reflections, Mercury retrograde. It's a lot going on in the stars. I was looking and I saw something like there was this big spiral in the sky. I believe it was in Alaska, like a green spiral. They said it was SpaceX rockets, but it was there for like 4 or 5 days. It was just a green spiral in the sky. It's a lot going on astrologically. Mercury retrograde and things like that. Should people be scared of Mercury retrograde, ladies? Or not scared or apprehensive about doing things. It's a lot of social media chat as I was scrolling today. Just people seem nervous on Mercury retrograde and the energy in the air. A lot of people talking about they were crying and waking up crying and go to bed crying. Uh, should this be a sad time? Was the reflections making people sad?
I don't think that people should be scared. There's really nothing to be scared of. I think that part of the hype and the fear is the fact that it's a Mercury retrograde, like at the same time as the eclipses. Like Mercury retrograde is happening sandwiched in between these eclipses. So people are extra hype. They feel like it's going to be death, doom, and destruction, especially when you hear that the eclipse is going down in Scorpio. People are like, oh my gosh, it's going to be like, death, doom, and destruction. And it's not. Um,
Right.
I feel like if there is sadness that comes up, I mean, Scorpio was all about death and rebirth. So there may be sadness coming up, and you may have to mourn things that you're losing, mourn things that are ending, depending on where it's going down in your chart. You may have to mourn the old you. To make way for a new you. So it's definitely emotional, right? Because Scorpio is a water sign in and of itself. And the fact that it's endings and new beginnings, it's a very emotional time. So although I don't think people should be scared, I do think that there is a heavy emotional undercurrent to the energy of this particular Mercury retrograde, as well as the eclipse that's coming up.
I say. I agree with Mel that people absolutely don't have any reason to be afraid. It's very important, I think, as we continue to evolve as humans, to understand that astrology is an energy is the language of this energetic earth system. And it's all about how you're using the energy. People are not at the effect of anything if they become conscious of it, you know?
Exactly.
Um, so if you're afraid of something, it's because you don't know. The fear is generated um from lack of a better word, ignorance. I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just, basically just from not knowing. So educate yourself. because this energy is to be used in a particular way. And Mercury retrograde in Taurus is giving us the opportunity to review, revisit, renew, refine our relationship with our senses, the Taurus energy, our value. What do you value? How are you using your energy? How are you being with your senses? Since I've been in this particular Mercury retrograde, I've been really revisiting how I show up in relationships, how I take care of myself, my possessions, um, my relationship to food. You know what I mean? All of those things I literally have been revisiting and recognizing that, oh, I've been eating out of boredom. Like so many signals that come to my sense system, I will translate as hunger when they are boredom or anxiety or so, and I'll just make it, everything is hunger. Like they say, you can use, it's a everything, like the answer to everything is, oh, I'm hungry. You know what I mean? So I must be hungry. So I literally, like, this is what you use this Mercury retrograde for. You use it to look at your life and see how you've been using your energy and begin to orient it towards something that is a up level for you, that is a renewal for you, because that's what we're doing. We're getting an upgrade right now. This is what this eclipse is, and Mercury retrograde, it's an upgrade. So the thing is, you're supposed to do the upgrade. It's not going to just happen to you magically. So
Yeah,
that's the
no,
thing about
absolutely,
Mercury.
absolutely.
Maybe people are afraid to take responsibility for themselves, and that's why they're crying.
That part.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's it. I think that, being that a lot of things are changing, we're entering a new world, with the banks and everything, like the BRICS, these countries coming together for the dollar. A lot of people are insecure. A lot of people are fearful. I mean, even if you think about, these children, basically, or young people driving up on people's homes or ringing the wrong doorbell and getting shot. Like, that's a high tense, high impact environment to think that you could just pull up in somebody's driveway and possibly lose your life.
Mhm.
So I think, like you said, it's a lot of reflection popping up, even for me, like looking at like recreation and balancing things out between, the study and the making time for people and just making sure everything is equal. It's just been like heavy on my head. And it's a lot of like you said, it's a lot of reflection, and you have to be willing to do the work to figure out, again, going into Taurus, being that this is Taurus season, what are your real values? Like,
Mhm.
what do you really value? And whatever you really value, you need to make the appropriate physical changes. Like, as above, yeah, you're thinking about it, you're pondering it, but what are the tangible steps that you need in order to make that happen, in order to make these changes? And what do you need to sacrifice? Going into, I guess let's talk about the full moon since it's coming up in a couple of days, 3 days, the full moon in Scorpio, lunar eclipse, right? All about the unconscious. Talk to us about that, and also how that fits in with the retrograde season.
So full moons generally they either illuminate something that has been hidden, it uncovers things, or it signifies the culmination of things, right? And I feel like this particular full moon, it obviously because it's an eclipse, it's going to be turbocharged. So it's a turbocharged full moon. But the energy signature of Scorpio is such that it uncovers truths and it signifies endings. So it's almost like this Scorpio energy is very emblematic of what full moons mean in general. So I feel like there is going to be a lot of truths revealed that may cause or may be like the catalyst to certain endings. It may spark certain sudden changes. I mean, I may be getting ahead of myself, but based on the astrology of the full moon, there's also going to be the sun is going to be conjunct Uranus. So there's going to be this element of surprise. There's going to be this element of personal freedom. There's going to be this element of things happening suddenly and in a way that's very profound and almost permanent. So it's a very sort of cataclysmic time right now. And so, Scorpio also, it unearths things. It's like dead bodies coming out the woodworks, right? So, skeletons coming out of your closet. Again, that element of truth being revealed. So people are like, the truth is really going to be slapping some people in the face during this Scorpio eclipse, and it may cause you to take sudden action to permanently end something, or permanently change something, or permanently transform your situation or even yourself. So it's very loaded. I don't know how you feel about it, Mo, but I feel like the energy is very complex with this eclipse. It's not just, oh, this is what it's going to be like. There's so many like layers to it. I know personally, the way that this eclipse has been playing out for me, it's almost like an onion, and it's like peeling back the layers of so many different
Yeah.
things. It may be one particular topic or one particular theme that has so many layers to it. And it's like, just like I said, peeling back the layers and understanding what is really what. And then, it's all about your consciousness, right? Like, now that you have this information, now that the truth is smacking you in the face, what are you going to do about it? Like,
Mhm.
are you going to stay the same, or are you going to do the work? Like Mo said, right? It's not about things magically happening to you. It's about, especially since we're in Taurus season, it's about physically doing the work. It's like, really getting down to work. So it's just, it's a lot. It can be a lot. Yeah.
I've been experiencing that, Mel, too, where I can feel so many realities at one time.
Yes.
Like I literally can feel the nuances of so many things happening at once. And I am inviting myself to the best of my ability to be focused on my heart's desire. Like, because that's the thing about Scorpio, you guys. Scorpio is about your desire, it's about power. That's what Scorpio
Mm.
is, it's
Yeah.
power. So most of us are afraid of power. Let's start there. Most of us are afraid of our power. We are afraid of ourselves. So, like I said, people are, Roz said that people are crying because they're afraid to take responsibility for themselves. And that means being responsible for your power. But for those of us who are evolving out of the age of Pisces consciously, because we're all doing it, but some of us are intentionally doing it. But for those of us who are evolving consciously out of it, we can see that the old reality is collapsing where we used to give our power away. And, how do we give our power away? We go to doctors to have them heal us rather than knowing what we need ourselves. We go to grocery stores for food rather than growing our own food. And this is not to condemn anything. I'm just saying the ways that we don't understand how our lives are coming together because somebody else is doing the major thing. You know what I mean? Like when you're a child, you don't really know how the bills get paid and how, because your parents are doing it, right? But many of us are still living our lives in that perspective because there are things that are happening in our lives that we don't know how it's really happening. And that's power that's going somewhere else, right? So this Scorpio energy is about your power and how you get to use your power, how you're not utilizing your power, the aspects of you that abdicate your power or overpower or power struggle that need to come to a cease, that need to die so that you can really come and be who you are. And many of us, some of this, I mean, a lot of this for us, whether we understand it or not at this time, is we live in a very magical place, you all. Like, I know that we are in this freaking American system, but we are on the planet Earth, which is run by cycles and light and quantum physics. This shit is very, very magical. And when you learn how to function as a conscious creator, we've gotten this, all this conversation is manifestation, manifestation. Manifestation is nothing. You are a
Right.
creator. Okay. You are creating all of the time. It never turns off. Like your heart never stops beating, like you never stop breathing. You are constantly creating. Manifesting is the nature of being a human being. You cannot turn it off. So, the more we understand that we are creators made in the image and likeness of God, like the creator, we are also within that system, we are a creator. When we understand that, we can really begin to understand our power, our gifts, our magic, this place that we're in, and how we can relate here to ourselves and to everything else. But it is understanding who we are and taking responsibility for the power that is endowed within us.
Yeah, I Manly P. Hall said evil is the abuse and the misuse of power. And your desires can either empower you or they could bring you deeper, so-called, in the underworld. And Scorpio is definitely a sign that deals with death, deals with transformation. But ultimately, Scorpio could also bring you down to your lowest of lows if you're not careful, and if you're not, doing the work that, like Mel said, that you need to do in order to escape your humanity, so to speak, or feeling like you're just this human and that you don't have any other abilities besides what you can see in front of you or what you can acquire from the external world. Like you were saying, you need to get a pill, or you need to get this new fab diet, or you need to look this way because summer's coming and I need my Instagram to be popping, and you need these certain amount of finances to feel like you're whole, or when I get there, I'll be this, or when I get this, I'll be that. But it really all starts with the internal because mind is moving matter. So I feel like this full moon is really going to show us what our real internal self is, and a lot of the signs and the symbols, because that's how our ancestors communicate, through signs and symbols, right? And through synchronicities, are really going to show us who we really are, what we really are, and what we need to battle through, because every day you wake up, there's an internal battle. Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Are you going to slack off? Are you going to put in work? Are you not going to put in work? Is this the day to relax? Is this not the day to relax? There's always a battle. Am I going to go to the gym? Not go to the gym. Get a green smoothie, eat Popeyes, right? There's always a battle. So really looking at the internal values of, this Taurus season and what that looks like and what you need to do to ascend. Also, speaking of the full moon in Scorpio, it's also a Pluto retrograde, and Pluto is also one of the planets that's ruled by Scorpio, uh, or as in conjunction with Scorpio. How does that all play out? The retrograde with Mercury retrograde and this particular full moon.
So that energy of transformation, you're going to be directing it inward. And it all begins with your thoughts, right? Because at least currently during May, Pluto's going to be retrograde in Aquarius. So
Mhm.
it's Aquarius is a future forward looking sign, but it has to do with the intellect. And so this is about changing your thoughts. And it's about not just changing your thoughts in the typical manifestation way, right? Because clearly your thoughts become things, but it's really about understanding what stands in your way in terms of living the reality that you want to live. Everything about Pluto, Mars, Scorpio energy, it's all about the underworld, right? The ugly side, the truth of the matter. And so with Pluto retrograde, I feel like it's having you look within and see what messed up thoughts that you have, what, bad habits do you have that are standing in the way of having the future that you want to have. So it's almost like taking a hard look at yourself from the inside out and deciding consciously to say, okay, this is not serving me. This
Mhm.
mindset is not serving me. This narrative is not serving me. This story is not serving me. And then physically making the change so that your inner world reflects the outer world that you want to see. So but again, because it's Pluto, and Pluto is like a wrecking ball, right? It destroys and decimates what no longer serves us in order to pave the way for better things. And so, because Pluto is kind of teetering the line between Aquarius and Capricorn, it's this energy of getting rid of the old systems, of the old programs, right, that we've been adhering to for so long. That's sort of the Pluto in Capricorn energy, right? All of the, like Mo was saying before, like the doctors, the grocery stores, like everything that we've relied on in the past, Pluto was taking a wrecking ball to it, right? But then the Pluto in Aquarius is forward looking. So it's like, okay, we just decimated a structure. What structure are we going to put in place of that? So it's getting rid of the old to make room for the new, but it's all happening internally. And this is, smack dab in between, full moon in Scorpio with, the eclipse and all of that stuff, plus Mercury retrograde, which is also inward looking. And the nature of Scorpio, like I said before, is that it's everything under the surface. So we're really looking at ourselves in a very, I want to say, truthful light, and seeing what's not working, what we need to get rid of, what's standing in our way. So it's a very introspective time. It's a very reflective time, but it'll also be a very scary time, right? Because if you're confronting things that you've shoved under the rug, or you're confronting things, a lot of us operate from our wounds, right? We make certain things, we make certain assumptions, we have certain narratives based on our wounds, right? And this Scorpio Pluto retrograde energy has you really taking a look at these things. And so that could be why people are crying, to be honest, because it's like you really seeing shit for what it is. And you're like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to continue this way, or am I going to change? So again, very introspective on a very, very deep level. So very intense.
Mm.
Did that answer your question? I'm sorry. I don't even think I
Yeah.
remember what your question was.
Yes. No, that was it. That was it.
Pluto
Yeah.
and Aquarius and the retrograde.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was a great answer. What I would add to that might support people is that Pluto is interested in the good of all, and so is Aquarius. Like Pluto is a generational energy, right? So so Pluto will be in Aquarius for 20 years. And so Aquarius is the higher mind, right? Like it's so Mercury is the lower mind, which is like commerce and your your ego mind thinking and how you communicate and perception. Aquarius, Uranus is the higher aspect of that. It's like the higher self. It's like the God self. It's who you're becoming. It's not who you are yet. It is your evolution. It's what you're moving towards. And the thing that it's important for us to understand, and Aquarius is about the collective good, the community, friends, like, right? So it's important for us to understand that we're all going somewhere and everybody plays a part. Like we think that we're individuals and we are, but your individual aspects are in service to the collective good. You're here to bring what you offer to the collective. And that is Pluto and Aquarius. Like, get your shit together because I need you to do your part so that I can do my part. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that's not towing their line and doing their part is fucking it up. You know what I mean? And so we're at the early stages of these changes, but know that this we used to be in this space where we were really codependent, and like I said, we relied on other people to do things for us that we thought we couldn't do for ourselves. Now, your genius, that's another thing about Aquarius and Uranus. It's about genius, and everybody has genius. Everyone does. Are you cultivating it? Have you discovered what it is? Do you know what are you doing with your time? Like literally you have to spend time. And so like Mel was saying, it is deep, right? It's a deep dive into where are you afraid? And many of us are afraid to really truly be who we really are because we don't want to be judged, or somebody told you that's not right, or you're stupid, or so we hold these narratives that block us from really being true to ourselves. And Pluto and Aquarius says no more. No more. You must bring your unique gifts. You must know what they are. You must cultivate them. You must let go of that small narrative, those old ideas, those fears, and you must be who you're meant to be because you came here for this. You came here with a purpose.
Yeah. And like you guys broke down weeks ago, the North Node, you want to look and see what that purpose is. I
Mhm.
mean, I always feel like people know what their purpose is, but, like I used to do, people run from it, because your purpose takes work. Your purpose is going to cause you to sit down and you're going to have to be grounded, in who you really are, self aware, and you need silence. You need
Mm.
times of silence. I would even recommend to people this weekend to limit your time on social media unless you're using it for business. Because you really want to get into yourself with this eclipse energy and really see, like, we're going into the second half of the year, summer's coming. What do you want to really execute? What do you want to bring into the world? Everybody's talking about America's falling, right? Yeah, it's great. America's falling. The old systems are destroyed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what are you going to do if it falls, right? What do you do if there's no government? What do you do when there's no police? What if you do when there's no taxes, no one taking your paycheck? How are you going to operate when there's no direct deposit, no cash apps, right? When things really change, the financial system changed, we need people who are able to have some skill sets that they were born to come here with, right? They were born with a certain, like, people talk about child prodigies, right? And I always say everyone's a child prodigy. The only difference between a child prodigy that's in this world and a not an unsuccessful child prodigy is just how they were nurtured, just how they were cultivated, just the family culture that really developed that prodigy. So, okay, they gave a kid that was 2, 3 years old a piano and started him learning notes, or he knows 12 languages because his parents got him, something to decode different languages and learn different things and studied with them. So it's all really on how you choose to cultivate yourself. And I think a lot of the wombs, like, you guys are talking about, are wombs that are going to fester up and bubble up, probably already bubbled up starting with the solar eclipse, and are still bubbling up because we all talked about that earlier, and are still going to bubble up as the moon starts to wane over the next couple of weeks, to really see these signs and symbols in our lives play out, or what we need to put forward, what we need to separate from. And it's do you guys think it's a great time just to do shadow work, and what does that look like if it is?
I mean, it's always time to do shadow work. Like that never stops. I
never,
always
never
I
ended. That's
always
true.
feel like every moon cycle, I'm like, oh, shadow work. I'm like, wasn't I just doing shadow work? But yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, Scorpio, shadow work, obviously they go hand in hand, but understand that it's intense,
Right.
especially if you haven't been doing the work before. And because it's an eclipse, number one, so the eclipse is sort of the universe's way of shifting things in our lives. But because the sun is going to be conjunct Uranus, it's almost like it's like rattling the earth, right? And whatever comes up is what's going to come up. And that may be very fearful for some people, because some things that you thought that you got over, some things you thought that you worked through, may really be rearing their ugly heads in order to really be eradicated for good this time. So shadow work, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Always do shadow work. It never goes away. And when Scorpio is here, do more of it.
Yeah, double down, double down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely a good time to be journaling, writing things out, kind of setting up your plans for the year, what the next couple of years look like. I think
Mhm.
that's a good practice. Always, as we always discuss, meditation, uh, and also creation, like what type of things you want to create and bring into the world of your own heart space, like looking at your heart, and again going to that Taurus space of the values, right? What do you need to push on? What do you need energy? And also think with the Pluto and Aquarius, it's about tearing down. It might be about tearing down. We talked about this, I believe, last time, but you might have to let some friends go. You might have to let a relationship go. You might have to let a career path go. What are these things that may be holding you back from achieving the highest version of yourself? Because we all are really here to literally bring God to earth. Like, we call ourselves God bodies, but we don't realize the real levity of that responsibility. how much that it really entails to become that. And this is not the path of ease. Like, this is not the path where everything, okay, yeah, this is just this, and I'm gonna do this and light these candles and, take a lot, pour some libations, and bibbity boppity boom. Everything's just gonna manifest in the right
Sometimes
place.
that does happen. Sometimes that
Sometimes
happens, but
it's true.
you've done a lot of work to get that
You
to
have to
happen.
do a lot of work, right? There's a lot more that comes into that. And usually what I found when
Yeah.
I start doing those type, when I start, delving into the spell work and things like
Mhm.
that and working with the ancestors, like, they're gonna throw you some sort of challenge to see if you're ready. They're
That's
gonna
right.
throw you some sort of episode. They're gonna throw somebody in your life that comes to your door or rings you on the phone. Hey, let's do this. Or hey, what's up with that? Or hey, bring you back to the old you, or try to put you in a position to where you might be taking 2 steps forward, but now you don't take 4 steps back, right?
Mhm.
And we all know it's harder to raise your vibration, and it's much easier to lower your vibration. uh let's talk about another Scorpio ruler, which I thought was interesting. There's a lot of Scorpio energy in the air. I love it, but
Right.
some people
Feel
might
at
hate
home.
it. I love it, I'm into it. But
Yeah.
we talk about Mars in Cancer, right? And in particularly, I want to talk about like relationships. Cancer, the emotions, the heart, the water signs. What does that look like for us over the next couple of weeks before we get into that new moon?
You're talking about specifically Mars in Cancer?
Yeah, specifically Mars and Cancer. Yeah.
Mars in Cancer is so uncomfortable. Like, it's a very uncomfortable kind of energy because Mars is in fall in Cancer. So, or detriment, I can't remember which one, but it's almost like, the energy of Mars wants to express itself. It wants to be bold. It wants to be dynamic. It wants to follow its passions directly, right? Like, it's like, I want something, I go right after it. And Cancer just throws a wet blanket on that. Like, that fire gets very muted by the water. So it's like, Mars tends to be very impulsive. So when we're talking about relationships and Martian energy, it's like you see somebody, you want them. It's that instant physical attraction, that sort of instant gratification that you're after.
Yeah, that's
But
what
then
I'm looking for.
With Mars in Cancer, it's like you feel that that desire, and then Cancer is like, oh no, but what do you really think about that? Like, how do you really feel about that? Like, your feelings start to come up, and you're just like, fuck, I don't want to think about my feelings. Like, I just want to go after what it is that I want to go after. Like, this is like wanting, you instantly see someone and you want to have sex with them, right? And you just like, yo, I'm just really trying to be with this person. And then it's like, but how do you really feel about them? Or maybe they're like very attached to you and they're very needy, and what, like, it's almost like the emotions muddy the waters. And
Mm.
so it's kind of having people feel like frustrated or angry even, because it's slowing down that Martian momentum.
Mhm.
So it can be a very uncomfortable feeling for a lot of people, especially if we're talking about relationships.
Mm.
Hmm.
That's really good because I had a client or did a reading the other day for somebody who was in a relationship and they both had Mars in Cancer, and one
Mm.
of them was an Aquarius and the other one was a Pisces, and the Aquarius
Oh,
was kicking her ass. That Pisces
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
for
"Ah!"
real.
I was like, "Oh Lord." I
Yeah,
was like,
sign and a water sign, Lord. Yeah.
"Here's what you need to do."
Mhm.
But the thing that I want to say about that question is, or answer that question, we had two new moons in Aries.
Right.
Aries, Mars rules Aries. And so we had a new moon at the beginning of the month or whatever, and then a new moon at the end. And so all of this energy is very is Mars energy. And Mars is the body. It is your body, your physical body. You know what I mean? And so I like to help people understand what is Mars. Like when you have to go use the bathroom, you must go use the bathroom. You can hold it, but it's not really going away. You're just delaying it, right? That's Mars. When you need to eat, like if you're really hungry, you have to go eat. That's Mars. It's this energy in you that compels you into action. And And it's the stuff that you don't really have a lot of control over. Like it's the stuff that you have to bow down to. Like, okay, I got to go do that. So that all of that energy is being rebooted right now because of when the first new moon, Mars was in still in Gemini. And so that's reorganizing. That was Mars had been in Gemini for months, for 7 months, on doing retrograde, reprogramming our mind because Gemini is our how we think. So we've been through an experience of really reorienting how we function, our mentality and our body together. Like I think the thing that I see in the astrology that I want to just try and sum it up is that we're being remade from the inside out. Okay. We are being resculpted from the inside out. And one day in 5 years or 3 years, we're all going to look back and go, wow, we just can't see it because we're too close to it. But we're all being resculpted. Like old relationships are falling away, behaviors, all of that is repatterning your brain, and we are becoming something different. And nobody is really talking about that because that seems absurd, but that's what's happening. And Mars is it's like we're being recoded in our body systems and how we think and our gifts and abilities and all of that is changing. And one day we'll look down the road and we'll be like, "Oh, that happened." Nope, they're
Hmm.
not talking about it in the news. They're not, but it's happening.
Yeah, DNA upgrades.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, especially with all these like northern lights moving. Like they have the northern lights in Connecticut. I was like, what? All it came all the way down here. So there's a lot of cosmic energy unfolding. The reason I wanted to ask y'all about that because Scorpio's opposite Taurus, and they're both like the direct opposite of each other. So I feel like people's passions are going to be like heightened,
Mhm.
specifically like sexually, lust and things like that. Like a lot of those things are going to come into play, and that's also something, right? We have to reflect on, right? A lot of people been locked up, bent up, pent up, might be dealing with people just for sexual release, just to keep it blunt, right? That people that have no real interest in us, or we have no real interest with them. And it's really a time to like look at that and see how's that serving you, or see is it worth it? Because every time we plug into a socket, so to speak, or vice versa, you get your socket plugged in, right? Either or, there is an energy transfer. I'm trying to keep it balanced for the people, y'all. I'm trying to keep it balanced for the men and the women. So however that energy transfer works, right? To me, that's the best example. However that like it is like you're transferring energy in between each other. So, you know, do what thou wilt, but also know that there comes a responsibility and you are taking on that person's energetic signature. If that person is not upgraded and you're plugging into them, or vice versa, you are taking on that person's energy, and there is a level of responsibility you have towards that, right? And also another thing I want to tap into before I get into the next subject is I feel like the magic right now, well, not I feel, I know the magic right now is very, very mental. Like it's more than you using the external tools. Those will help, but you really have to be doing daily rituals nowadays just to maintain a level of sanity. Because if you get caught up in this hamster wheel of the news and the world and what's happening, you're going to have a defeated mindset. You're going to have a mindset where you feel like the worst is going to happen because that's what's being pumped constantly. And if you guys notice, it's been much more accelerated. It's much more heavier. The information is much more like in your face. Even if you try to hide from it, it's like they still try to, whether we're searching here or looking at whatever is going to come at you to make you feel inadequate, or make you feel like you're not going to make it, or make you feel like lost. And another part of the Scorpio is embracing the unknown, embracing the darkness, embracing the chaos, like knowing you can't control it all, because a lot of us want to control everything. So we'll watch these channels and they'll say, oh, this is going to happen next, or this is the prediction. Like no one really knows, no one really knows what's going to happen next.
That's right.
What you know is who you are, And that's the only thing you can rely on, who you are and how you cope with life. So understanding what you need to do to cope with the ups and downs of life. Because I feel like after this eclipse, it's gonna be haywire. Like I got a vision last night, like just like once this eclipse happens, like there's gonna be all sorts of entities coming out of that eclipse, out of that portal, because it's literally like an opening door. Like the sun is blocked out by the moon. It's like an open door for all type of spiritual entities on both sides of the fence. And it's like, what type of vibration are you riding with? Like, what are you allowing yourselves to be possessed by? What do you? Because everything is spiritual. And spirit possession is when you're angry, you're possessed by a spirit. When you're happy, you're possessed by a spirit. When you're making love, you're possessed by a spirit. So, what type of spirit are you going to conjure on a day to day basis? And that's really the level of magic that we really want to look at and on a day to day basis, really analyze, how is that going to manifest in our life? And that's really the biggest manifestation in the world, your character, your resilience, and your ability to be at peace in the midst of chaos. Because that's the only way we're going to lead others who are not doing this type of work into a sense of becoming the best version of themselves. Y'all want to say anything to that?
Where are those sirens coming from? Whose sirens are those?
That's New York City sirens. That's just somebody, somebody probably got shot. Or
I
let's
just
hope for the best. Let's hope it's not something serious.
no. When I hear sirens lately, I just there've been so many sirens. I'm in Los Angeles, so many sirens and helicopters that I just like I'm so aware of the shift in the energy in the world lately. And it feels like there's just sirens all the time. So I was just wondering who had that. Um can I talk to that question? I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. It's
No, go ahead. That's what it's about.
I
Yeah.
got my double Virgo thing. I'm Mercury retrograde and all over the place. Like I don't even know. Anyway, okay, great. Um, so you were talking about oh shit, I just lost it. So I wanted to somebody here asked how to transmute shame around the Scorpio full moon and sexual shame. Were you right?
Oh,
How
let me
does
pull that up.
shame rework during the Scorpio full moon? Um, so the thing
It's a good
about
question.
this energy is that any of these things like shame, guilt, disappointment, fear, all of that, you have to lean into it. You have to lean into it.
That's big.
Literally.
That's big.
Like
Hold on, I hit pull for it for that. That's big. You gotta lean
so,
into it.
like, what is it that you're exactly ashamed of? You know what I mean? Like I feel like one of the beautiful things in my life experience is that I've been with people who have done all sorts of things, and I've done all sorts of things. I have done all manner of things that I.
What was the look on your face when you said that? Like you're real serious about that.
I am. I am.
That's Scorpio. That's a Scorpio, baby. That's Scorpio passion. No.
Yes, I have done all manner of things that I could very well be very ashamed of, right? I really have. And I have done the work. I have looked at why I would be ashamed of it. Why am I ashamed that I had sex with that woman's husband? Well, because it was there was sneaking going on. There was this going on. And it's like, well, why was I doing that? What is it that I was doing that would have me being sneaky or telling lies? Like really look at it. Just look at it and be okay with the choices you've made and forgive yourself. And if you need to make amends to others, if that feels appropriate, do that. But you really have to make amends to yourself because we do things because we need the experiences, honestly, and we're not the same people. You're not who you were when you did the thing that you're ashamed of now. Like maybe you did it so that you could feel the shame of it, so that you know that it's not behavior that is in alignment with your integrity, right? So just look at what the choices you've made, look at them and look at them through the lens of compassion and and just be present to yourself. And you don't have to tell anybody anything. Like it's no, you just can't turn away from yourself. That's all. Just don't turn away from yourself. because you deserve to be seen and loved in every aspect of yourself. There's this Bible verse that I used to love when I was a Christian. Um, and it said something like, whether I go to heaven, God is there. And if I ascend to the deepest, darkest space in hell, even there shall the light surround me. You cannot escape from your own self. It's like what, like when you are in the highest parts of yourself, who's with you? You. When you're in the lowest parts of yourself, who's with you? You. That God is not just some deity, that's you. So see yourself in your darkness. See it. See yourself in your, and remove the judgment and love yourself. And that's how you clean it up. That's it.
Ashe, that was yes.
Yeah, shit.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Got anything
It's
to that,
the
bro?
removal of judgment that's so important, because sort of to piggyback off what you said,
Mhm,
we're all fractals of big G, God, right?
mhm, mhm,
And these fractals, as fractals, we are here to merely experience
Mm,
everything in life. And
mm.
but what
Hold on,
people
hold
don't
on.
understand is that
Practice.
mhm,
there's truly no judgment in God. God wants to experience everything. The
mhm,
thing that you deem as shameful, the thing that you deem as wrong, the thing that you deem as a mistake, God is like, all right, boom, that's what that is. Okay,
mhm,
I get it now. I see that. I understand what that is. And when you really internalize that, it leaves you devoid of shame,
mhm,
because we're all human. We're all here just learning. Earth is just a learning place.
mhm,
It's us in our humanity and in our egotism that gave things a hierarchy or a moral code. And that's not to give you free license to go out and really do some fuck shit, unless that's what you are here to experience,
yes,
right?
yes, that's
But
right.
if you're conscious, like you'll understand that, okay, I went through that, I've been through that. Feel the shame and then let it go. And I know that sounds a little flippant because it sounds a lot easier said than done, and it is. But you'll
Mhm,
get to a point where when you realize who you really are and why you are really here, not only did what happened is literally a blip in time, less than a blip, half a blip,
mhm,
but it's merely an experience to either open your eyes or teach you something, or it may be an experience for somebody else. You know, like
mhm,
Mo was saying before, how everyone has to do their part. Guess what? My part for some people is the villain.
mhm.
My part for some people is the person that does fuck shit. And
Yes,
that's okay.
yes,
That
yes.
is perfectly fine because that's what I'm here for. Because then guess what? If I realize why I'm here and you realize why you're here, we both ascend. We all ascend, right? So even though it's easier said than done, try to remove judgment from whatever you've experienced,
Mhm,
and forgive yourself. And like Mo said, practice compassion when you're doing this shadow work. It's not, you have to get out of your humanity when you're like, oh, I did this, like, oh, that was so wrong, I shouldn't have done that. I mean, obviously we will feel regret, we will feel some of those emotions with respect to whatever we've done, but again, when you realize who you really are, you're like, okay, I experienced that, and then that's it.
mhm.
You can let it go. You don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to keep crucifying yourself over the same thing. Because guess what? After a certain point, God is like, all right, I experienced that, and then move on. That's
That's
it.
that's right. And that's true for other people too, right? So for me, like I intentionally work to let go of my narratives around racism. They can be so deep inside of me, but it's like I was meant to experience this in this black body. And the villains were meant to be the villains. And it gets really good when I say, now what can I learn from this? Like, what can I learn from this? Because what I learned from all of these scenarios, I learn more about what I'm capable of. Like, oh, I'm actually capable of forgiving that motherfucker. Wow. I actually appreciate this. Can I, oh, listen, so I have my landlord died the other day, and
Mm,
I this is somebody that I have a story about, that I was kind of in my energy around, like, I don't like them. And when I got the text that they died, I felt I felt myself, I heard myself go, good. Like I heard myself say, like it was, and I felt ashamed of that. I was like, oh. And so I went, because I felt it, I was like, check in with yourself. So I went in and I said, why would I feel that? And then I thought about, like, how there was another landlord before them, and I used to be able to pay my rent anytime. I could pay my rent on the 1st or the 5th or the 20th or and then this landlord came in, was like, pay your rent before the 5th or you pay $25 extra.
Mm, that fee.
and and so I did not like them because they made me get in order. That's, and I,
Mm.
once I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, this person came in and organized me, because now I always pay my rent on time. And if I don't, I just add the 20." But it up leveled my own integrity, my own, like, he up leveled me. And so then I was like, "Oh, let me let this go." I actually am very grateful for him. And then I burned a candle for him, because he actually taught me something. He made me better. But at first, I was in some fuck shit. Like, well, I signed the lease. I said I'm gonna pay the rent, but then I want to pay it on my terms. So this is how this is the compassion. So I have compassion for myself for being on fuck shit. I'm grateful for him for organizing me, for making me up level. And this is how we really make things work for us, by telling the truth and looking at it and seeing what can come out of it. If you allow something to come out of it, it will.
Mhm.
Yeah, Shay. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that goes back to like embracing the dark side, as we were talking about. In Africa, if you would do something, let's say you stole from someone,
Mhm.
the whole village would create a circle and they would sit you in the middle. And everybody would talk about how it affected them, how it's affecting the community, how it's affected the tribe and the family. So shame was used as a tool for course correction, as a tool to change behavior.
Mm.
So when we talk about shame, my motto in life is there's only two things. There's lessons and there's blessings.
Mm.
I remember my Uncle Ray a long time ago. I was crying to him and whining to him about something and about, oh, I should have did this. And if I would have made this move and would have did this and, did this. And he was like, boy, the past is past. The
Mm.
past is past. Ain't nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do is move forward into the future. And I never forget that because a lot of times we do things and we have things, and there's in Kemetic law, there's the 42 negative confessions of my aunt, and you say, I have not stole, I have not slept with someone else's spouse, I have not went to war necessarily, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not about you specifically, this physical body that I call Rob Black Storm. It's not about this physical frame. It's about the soul, the spirit. You have not really done any of those things. It's your spirit is essentially unconditioned. It has no father. It has no mother. It is and always will be. It is infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent. So all these things that happen to you are lessons. They're
Mm.
lessons for you to reflect on. You might have a younger daughter, son, someone that you can mentor, that you could give that experience, tell them what to look for, what to look out for, depending on what the situation was. But the shame is all about course correction. I remember one time, this was embarrassing, but I remember one time I was dating this girl, and at the time, I was like maybe 2, 3 years from coming home, right? You guys know I've been locked up. Well, I was locked a long time ago, but I was locked up, and I was like 2, 3 years from coming home. I'm dating this girl. I get my check, so I go to the check cashing, and we was with her and her friends, and she was like, "You going to the check cashing?" Like her friend, the girl that I was dating's friend, was like, "You going to the check cashing? Like,
Mhm.
you over 18, you still going to the chick?" Like, that's the way she told me, like with that face and
Mhm.
like that, you know what I'm saying? And she was just, and the girl that I was with looked at me and she didn't say anything about it. Like, I've been going
Mhm.
to check ass for months on it. She knows this, right? But when she said that, literally the next week, I bet I took my ass to the bank and deposited money into the bank to get a
Mhm.
checking account because of the shame. So it forced me to course correct and move different in the future. And that's really all it's for. It's not for you to dwell on. It's not for you to say, woe is me. It may be traumatic. It may be hurt. But part of this work, this great work that we're doing, is being alchemists, turning lead to gold. Or as the great 50 Cent says, turning shit to sugar and 50 laws of power, right? You have to come to the point where you're going to transmute these energies and figure out, okay, how can this help me in the future? What can I learn in the future from this? A lot of people have the same relationship with the same person. Like I was counseling this younger female. We was doing readings, and and it's like, I'm like, look, I told you about this same archetype 2 people ago. Like, you're picking the same person, and you're not really seeing that you're picking the same person. And the reading's even telling you, like, look, some of the same cards are even coming up. So you're picking the same person, but expecting a different results. So
Mhm.
you have to switch your values, right? You have to switch what you see valuable. And what may be valuable to you is loathing, right? Is being in a critical space,
Mhm.
is being woe is me, pity me, look at poor me. A lot of us have that mental. I had it at one point, right?
Yes. That
Very
victim
simple.
mentality, the victim mentality.
Yeah, victim mentality, the wiring where you feel like everything outside of you or the world is going crazy and you just can't control it. And look how much bad things you did. But that's all. Whatever happened to you in your experience, everything is God. God is
Yeah.
omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. So even your enemies, even your opponents are designed to level you up. Just like a video game, when you're fighting enemies in your video game, you got to get XP points. You got to power up. You might need a power pack. You might have to earn an extra gun to the next level, right? Mario Brothers is one of the biggest movies out right there. It's all about leveling up to different stages, to different levels, so you could defeat Bowser, right? So
Right.
really, until you level up and look at these experiences as just experiences and not things, it's all about creating a new future. Every day you wake up, one of the first things I do wake up is think of my future. What's my future going to look like? Right? What is that picture? And then feel it inside. Gratitude for the day, of course, then the future. Create a new future. And as you create that new future, again, you'll start to see, again, the ancestors will start to communicate with you. If you communicate with them through pouring libations, through lighting candles, things like that, they will start to, over time, as you go through your lessons, because remember, there's more lessons to go as you go through life, you'll start to see things manifest. So shame is not necessarily a bad thing. Shame is a reminder of who you are, what you went through, and again, extracting lessons from that in order for you to become a better person.
Mhm.
Amen.
But
And
yeah,
to
that was a
kind
great,
of
great, great question.
to just to piggyback off that real quick, the one thing I want to say to add is that pain is your friend.
Mhm.
We are conditioned to avoid pain at all costs, right? You have a headache, you pop a pill, you do everything to avoid pain. Meanwhile, pain is where the growth is. It's no coincidence that they want to numb you from pain because they don't want you to grow,
Mhm.
right? And a lot of us get stuck at the pain, right? Because our first instinct is to say, I'm feeling pain, I'm feeling shame, I'm feeling embarrassment, humiliation. You want to stop there because you're conditioned to think that that's bad. And
Mhm.
so that stops you, that impedes you from pushing through so that you can grow through it. Right. So, and it's, of course, it's easier said than done, but this is how you grow. Most people will stop at, okay, this happened to me. I don't even want to think about it. I can't process it because I'm still feeling the feeling of shame. I'm still feeling the pain of humiliation or the pain of failure. You have to feel that. That's part of what helps you get through it and be better on the other side. And I think sometimes we feel, to say that we feel some kind of way about it is like an understatement. Like, I know whenever I'm processing through something really difficult, that pain makes me feel like I'm a bad person. I shouldn't have done that. I'm so hard on myself. When meanwhile, it's like you have to traverse that. Like, that's just the first step. The first step is feeling that and understanding that it's okay to feel that way. That's a normal reaction, but that's not where you stay. And pain also directs your attention to things. Pain is a wonderful way of showing you what you need to focus on, what needs to change, what you need to transmute. So if you find that it's difficult to do the shadow work because you're feeling the feelings, it's almost like you're reliving it, right? Like when you're really in the midst of shadow work, you're reliving what you did or what you didn't do or what didn't happen or what so and so did to you. That's the first step. You have to feel it. So as difficult as it may be, lean into the pain, like Mo
Mm.
was saying before. Like you have to feel it, and it is your friend. It is not here to re-embarrass you. It's not here to re-hurt you. It's not here to re-humiliate you. It's just showing you what you need to pay attention to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if I could piggyback onto that, is if you avoid it, it will come and drag you.
Mm,
That part.
yeah.
If you
Yeah.
avoid it, if you run from it, you can only run from yourself for so long because it's always there. So you cannot avoid it. It's coming no matter what. So that's all I had to add to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And to add on to both of y'all, you will self destruct slowly.
Yes.
Take it from experience. You will
Mhm.
slowly self destruct. The more that you try to run from pain, the more you try to run from the great work, which is you becoming the highest version of yourself and bringing
Mhm.
God here on earth through you as a vessel of the divine. The more you run from that, the more you run from your magic and your purpose, the more you run to fit in, the more you run to, I don't want to be criticized. I don't want anybody to talk about me. I just want to, be comfortable. The more you run into the comfort zone, you will start to slowly self destruct little by little, year by year. You will start to fade away. You will start to become more disillusioned. You will start to become more depressed.
Mhm.
So, I myself am imposing you a warning to definitely use this 7 year, because it's a 7 year, it's a year of the divine. Seven is a God number. It's a year for the seven chakras for you to tap into those to see what it is that's weak in that chakra system, to study it and to figure out what you need to do to just become again the greatest version of yourself. And it's not going to be that you're going to be like a superhuman god every single day. We all suffer, we all go through ups and downs, we all feel pain, but you can't run from the pain. You can't run from taking risks. You can't run from stepping out of the comfort zone. And that's what most people do. Like Mo was saying, something happens. Oh, pop this pill. I'm depressed. Oh, pop this pill. Oh, I'm stressed out. Oh, pop a mushroom, smoke some trees. Everything is external. But oh, go shopping. Oh, something happened with your boo, you broke up. Just find another one. That'll take care of it, right? That's what people say, right? Oh, I broke up. Well, the best way to get over a breakup is to get with someone new. No, that's not the best way to get rid of a breakup or heal from a breakup,
Not at
especially
all.
if you didn't do the work. Especially if you're not looking at what you did in the relationship, what the other person did, and holding yourself accountable. Because you picked that motherfucker. However it went,
Right.
you picked them, you chose them,
It's
you let them in, you allowed them to come.
such a big deal. Like in the last couple days, I've been working with this the function of choice and how easy it is for us to not understand that the people in our lives are there because we chose them. And you don't know what everybody's going to bring, but you chose them for a reason. So whatever they do bring is exactly what you need. And so, like you get into a relationship and you're like, this person they turned into an asshole, or you don't like them, or they are exactly what you chose, and you need that. There's a lesson for you in that. And choice is so important. It really is. I feel like, especially for women, I feel like as a woman, and I witness this in other women, we often are just not clear about how we are participating. It's like on some level, it's like we're children. It's a very peculiar thing. I don't know if it's because the culture really sort of creates power in the image of men, right? God is a man. And so we sort of see them as powerful, but we don't see ourselves as powerful. So we don't understand that our choices are creating our reality. We're not aware. We're not being very deliberate. It's almost like we just go along and
It's mindless.
yes.
It's very mindless, and but it's the story, it's the programming that we've been programmed, right? Because
Yeah.
how many, like, look at any post on Instagram, even remotely concerning relationships, and the comments from women will be completely devoid of accountability sometimes. Like,
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, he ain't shit, or oh, dudes don't do that. It's like, but you in it too. Like, what do you think you were doing? Really?
Right.
What role did you play in this?
Yeah.
And it's hard because we're not taught to have accountability. We're not taught to be like, okay, maybe I wasn't showing up as my best self, or maybe
Mhm.
I was too needy, or maybe I led with my insecurities rather than with my strengths, right? It's just always everyone else's fault.
Yes.
Like, everything about society is, it's always everyone else's fault. We don't want to feel any pain. We just want to coast along, right? We want everything to be easy. We don't have to want to work for anything.
Mhm.
In relationships, men are always the problem. Men are always cheating. Men are always doing this. And it's like, well, like you said, you chose him. Why?
Right.
That's right.
Like,
Right.
why? You
Right.
saw he was broke.
Mhm.
His debit card declined on the first date, and now you expect this dude to take you to Bali.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. I'm gonna need you to be just a little more discerning and a little more accountable. Like, you should know these things. Well, let
Yes.
me not say that, because it's not about placing blame, right? That's not what we're trying to do on either side. It's
Mhm.
about getting us to open our eyes to what we bring to the situation.
Yes. And to see how we are creating this reality, right? To understand that choice, like I forgot what Rob was saying, but whatever you said about the choice piece, it's just so powerful. It's the leader energy. It's the Haru, right? Haru
Yeah.
in the pantheon.
Yes.
Like understanding that every choice is opening up a whole nother reality. It's not as simple as that choice. Choice is creative. The nature of choice is creative. And I feel like women don't, that's, I could be wrong. I feel like we just don't understand that when we choose something, it is going to open up a whole new dimension that is based upon our choice.
Yeah. And most people, man, I think, shoot, even with men, like most people are the walking dead out here. You know, most people are just following what the news says. They're following what's on social media. They follow the new
Right.
trend. If the new trend is, put a banana in your ass and take a selfie and it looks kind of cute, they're gonna do it. Most people do not think. Somebody said something in one of my Facebook comments and it made me think. And it was like, most people are reading at fourth and sixth grade reading levels. So they
Mhm.
don't even have the comprehension to really understand who you are and what you are. And you might be online arguing with someone who is at a fourth grade or sixth grade reading level. Not to say, not to shame,
Yeah.
but there is a level of shame to that if you are not doing anything about it, if
Mhm.
you are not reading to learn, if you are not trying to learn different concepts. If you believe everything people will say on YouTube, no matter how spiritual, mystical, magical, you will be lost out here.
Mhm.
You'll be lost. And you think you'll know everything. You'll be able to regurgitate it real well. It'll sound real nice. They'll say it with great passion and oomph and get you up out your seat, right? But you don't know these people. You don't know what they're doing in real life. And they
Mhm.
could be just selling you a bill of goods. But if you don't know how to think for yourself, you're going to get caught up in these traps time and time and time again. And you'll be blaming the people and you'll be pointing the finger instead of pointing the finger at yourself and trying to figure out, okay, why am I going through this? Why am I not getting to any direction? Like when you're doing the spiritual work, you should see some sort of progress.
Mhm.
There should be things in your life that are getting better. There should be things in your life that are changing. Maybe you're going through a rough time right now. Maybe you're in a rough patch with how life is right now. But as you do the work, those things will start to change over time. Again, doesn't mean it's going to be peachy. Doesn't mean you won't reach a bump in the road, but at least you'll have the idea that things are always going to be okay. Like whatever happens in my life, I'm like, things are going to turn out fine. I really
Mhm.
don't feel at this point, but I've done a lot of work. I've been through a lot of things, and I've also saw things manifest just off thought, just off ideas in the darkest of times. Like in the darkness of times is when the best inventions come out. In the
Yeah.
darkest of times and when people create the most. So look at like bad times, like in the stock market, for example. Like the time they say to buy stocks is when the stocks are bottoming out. You know, it's not when the stock is up. It's not when everybody else is okay. You see a stock jump 10, 12 points, you know, and then you just jump on it. That's the wrong time to jump on the stock. Jump on it when it's low, when it's going down, because now you're able to work with the stock as it's riding. That's the same thing with life, right? Things are going bad. This is when you want to do more spiritual work and invest in yourself because eventually it will rise again. It
Yeah.
will rise back up. But if you're not doing the work and you're not investing in yourself, your stock is going to drop and it's going to continue to drop because you're not doing any work. And the outside world is not here to guide you. Me, Mel, Mo, we're here as guides, yes, but we can't tell you what to do for you. You got your own birth chart. You have your own blueprint. You have your own DNA map. When you came here to say, Mel said, I'm going to be an astrologer. Mo said, I'm going to be an astrologer. I said, I'm going to deal with the occult and esoteric science. And I'm sure they all deal with the occult and esoteric science in their own way. But you have to
Mhm.
know really what your purpose is here. We all can't be astrologers and occultists, right? Some people just have to learn this knowledge and be the best gardener, be the best stockbroker, be the best accountant, be the best at designing homes, tiny homes, whatever it is, right? But you have to realize what that is and nurture that with the spirit of God or the spirit of the divine within you. Because again, like I said, there's a lot of spiritual forces that are going to start playing out. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to tap into their spiritual powers and abilities unknowingly. Like it's just coming to me a lot that this summer there's going to be a lot of people awakening to their spiritual abilities. If you don't know how to handle it, and if you're using it in a nefarious way, or you're trying to use these things to hold people down, you will still self destruct. It may take a little longer. You may seem like you're winning, but to be a negative person, you have to carry that negative energy. It has to be part of you, right? You can't be a positive person and do negative things. It's almost impossible because you have to lower yourself to a certain degree, not for survival, things like that. That's different, right? But even then, you got to go to war. You have to change your mindset. So
Mhm.
why not go to war with becoming? You have the ability to think what you want to think. Your mind is free. The universe is mental. Your mind is free. So whatever's happening in your reality right now is not quote unquote a reality. It's just a physical manifestation of what you've been thinking from the past till now. But the fact that you're awake, you woke up today, you have the ability to process and create a new future. But it has to start here. And then it starts from the heart where you're doing the work, right? And moving forward. So with this water element, it's really about what you're going to, Scorpio being a water element, it's really about what you're going to grow into and what you're going to reproduce, right? Water is primarily womb energy, right? Even when you're excreting waste, right? It comes out watery, urine or feces. So it's really about recreation. The baby is born in the womb, right? So it's about that energy of growth and reproduction. So what does that look like for you? And what is it that you need to do to trim the fat, so to speak, and get into that heart space and get into that childlike mindset, and you will create those things for yourself. But you have to take time and you have to be silent and you have to disconnect from the world because the world is going to lead you astray. No matter how innocent you think it is, the more you indulge in the world, that's why I say in the Bible to be of the world, but not, be in the world, but not of it. Because the world is, especially now, man, it's going to drive you into deep, deep, deep depression and deep, deep, deep doo doo. uh, the last thing I want to talk about Saturn and Pisces, right? That was a big theme last month. How does that all play in with what's going on with this eclipse, and how can we use this eclipse to our benefit, and what should we be doing?
I think Saturn in Pisces, it is um our emotions manifest, right?
Mm,
And so we were just talking about how with the Scorpio energy, it's like really kind of doing emotional cleanup, right? So it's a time, like, I don't know if you guys have been experiencing this, but with me, it's like everything has sped up. I will literally think about something and 2 seconds later it shows up. How I'm
Hmm.
feeling, like it really shows up almost instantaneously sometimes. And so Saturn and Pisces crystallizes our inner world. It really
Yes.
makes manifest what we're feeling and literally projects it right back to us. And I feel like
Yeah.
because of the way that the earth's frequency is elevating, it's happening very quickly. And so it's
Yes.
not to scare people in that if you're feeling bad, it's going to manifest instantaneously. But the more you give emotion to it, the more you construct your inner world around your wounds, around the things that you don't want, that's exactly what is going to crystallize. And so I feel like Saturn in Pisces is really just working in tandem with everything else. We're doing the emotional cleanup. We're reflecting, right? Both with Pluto retrograde and Mercury retrograde right now. And then Saturn in Pisces is helping us take our inner world and, create the reality that we really want to create. So it's go time, and it's time to really get to work, right? Saturn is all about hard work. We're in
Hmm.
Taurus season, the sign of hard work. Mercury is retrograde in Taurus. Like, this is the time to really put in that work, but it's internal. And I feel like a lot of people are going to misconstrue that, like, oh, I'm trying to make more money. Let me pick up an extra job. Let me do this. Let me do that. And meanwhile, you're completely neglecting your inner world. Like, it's so important to understand the intention and the reasoning behind everything that you do right now. Because there's going to be a big difference. Let's say that you're a business owner, right? And you see someone else as a business owner doing the same exact thing you are. They are excelling and you aren't. And you're wondering, well, what's the difference? I'm putting in the work, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Their intention may be completely different from yours. If you're moving from a place of fear, if you're moving from a place of insecurity, if you're moving from a place of lack, yeah, you're going to get the results, but it may not be sustainable. And
Hmm.
everything that's going on right now is going to show you clear as day what your internal world is like. All of your intentions, all of your manifestations, all of the things that you're feeling, it's going to come to you in real time, in tangible form. That's what Saturn and Pisces is doing right now. And so, what's great about it is it can really show you where you're at, like where you're currently manifesting from, right? If you're noticing that everything around you is kind of haywire, if you have these wonky manifestations, if the people around you are kind of shady, that shows you where you're moving from internally. And it's great because you see it in real time, which means that you can course correct, like Rob said before, in real time. So Saturn
And
and
that's a
Pisces is
reflection
just
of you. That's a reflection of
exactly.
you. All those people, all those situations are
Hmm.
you.
Right.
You have to be accountable for that. You can't blame the outside world. Sorry, Mel. I just want to interject.
Oh no, that's okay. And I was just gonna say, like, it's just a matter of bringing everything real time. So, because it can be difficult because when you're doing the internal work, if you're not seeing it on the outside, it can be very hard to gauge where you're at. Because
Yeah.
especially when you're on this spiritual journey, you feel like you're working forever. You may feel
Hmm.
like you've been trying to manifest the same thing forever. You may feel like you've been doing the same shadow work forever, right? But I feel like Saturn and Pisces is going to show you exactly where you're at right now. It's going to show you in real time. It's going to show you in real form via your people, places, and your things in your 3D reality where you're currently at. So you could course correct.
Ashe. I think the thing that's important to me about, like, I'm a Pisces rising, and I am Pisces is what the ancients called the amenta. It's the subconscious. And if you guys want to really understand the subconscious, go watch Inception. That
Mm,
movie is
Oh, it's one of
brilliant.
my favorite
It
movies.
is brilliant. It
yes, sir.
is a really great depiction of Saturn and Pisces. What
Mm.
you believe that you don't know you believe. What you're holding on to that you inherited from your great great grandmother, you don't even know is in there, right? All that stuff begins to come up and into the 3D reality. And the thing that's so important for us to understand is that we're only ever experiencing our own energy in another, in
That's
right?
it.
Like
That's it. It's all a reflection.
this is a video game. We are in a hologram. And if you can wrap your mind around that, go check out another movie called Ready
Ready
Player
Player One.
ready, right? So you can understand how what's and it's a mind fuck. Like it's a like you know. But when you get it and you start to relax into it and be willing to see it, which could take it takes the time, right? So, because it's a real mind fuck, and then you start to see yourself out in other people, and so the work is to do the heal, like, because Pisces is also your family stuff. It's the things that come through the generations. So heal those family patterns, look at them, love yourself, reorganize that behavior, you know, and just take responsibility. It's a profound thing. And what this is like, like I look at my mother and my father and who they were. I look at how their patterns show up in me. I literally look at it and go, oh, my father was a big mouth. Oh, I talk a lot. I think I know everything, right? My father and I had the same, so I see that. And then how do I reorganize that? How do I make that be something that actually works for me? My mother was a very central sexual woman who was very devoted to the masculine, and right, so how do I make that work for me? And because these are the patterns that I was given, right? So it's important for us to know that we come through a legacy. We come through a legacy of behaviors, choices, experiences, ways of being, and then that makes us who we are. And then how do we make that our own?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
This
Ashe.
deep says, yeah, Ashe. You are not your thoughts, you're the observer. You have the ability to think what you want to think. Yeah.
That's right.
You mentioned Ready Player One, which I thought
Hmm.
was dope. The first, and it speaks of this Mercury retrograde, this eclipse season, all that. I don't know if you remember, Mo, but the first challenge they had was they wanted to there was this race and no one could figure out, it was like the first step of the challenge that they were trying to beat in the game, and no one could figure out how to beat it. Everybody was racing, they were speeding, and there was just some point where they were all destroyed or get knocked off the blocks.
Yes,
And what the person who passed it figured out was he had to go backwards.
that's
And
right.
when he hit the reverse and went back, then he was able to unlock the game and unlock the hidden road.
That's
And a
right.
lot of times, like you said, because we don't, like Mel was saying, because we don't want to face the challenges or face what we've been through, and we want to just, love and light, whatever happened, oh, how do I get this money? Oh, how do I get this? When I get this new girl, and when I get all this money, everything's going to be okay, right? And then you start to get these things, you realize that's not going to be okay. But some people haven't gotten there to see that. So you think once you get these material things or these external things, everything's going to be all right. Now realizing you get all these things, but if you're not right within, if you're not going back and doing self-reflection and
Mhm.
self-assessment, going on a backward road, right? To find that hidden gem within that hidden road that may be the pathway for you to escape whatever personal issues or personal downfalls that you have. Because spirituality, again, is multiple spirits. There's a spirit for everything. There's a
That's
spirit of a scientist in you. There's a spirit of a mathematician in you. There's a
right.
spirit of a gardener in you. There's a spirit of a warrior in you. All sorts of spirits are available at your beck and call. You just have to know the codes. It's like dialing somebody's number, right? I can't
Right.
call Mel if I don't have her number, right?
That's
So
right.
your job is to learn the numbers, learn the codes, learn the mantras, right? Take a
Yes.
class from Mo, take a class from Mel, watch our videos, right? You're not going to get it all, obviously, in this one video, but you have to use this as a starting point to learn the codes to how you can unlock these different parts of yourself and these different roads so you can make the pathway of life look the way you want. And it is going to take work. And that is the biggest challenge. But another thing in this age of Aquarius is your friends, surrounding yourself with reflections that look like where you want to go and look like where you want to be in the future. And
Yeah.
those reflections will empower you when you feel down, when you feel like things aren't going right, when you may be sidetracked, so forth. Those reflections will now begin to reflect your light that you've been giving when you were on a high point. Give that light back to you. Because we all go through it, no matter how much studying, no matter how much spiritual work, we all hit lows. But
Hmm.
those reflections, the people that you keep around you, the things that you keep around you, the way that you learn to cope, right? When you're going through things, the way that you learn to find patches of silence throughout the day so you could just think, Like there's sometimes when I'm working from home, and it just be so much. I'm listening to so many things. I just put on
Mhm.
like binaural beats for like an hour, 528 hertz or something like that. And I just listen to it for like a couple of hours and it just clears my head. Like after I do it, my head is just so clear. And I've thought of so many different things and implemented so many different ideas because I've had that clarity. So find times, whether it's driving home from work, whether it's, taking whatever vehicle or how you get back and forth or whatever, find times during the day to get into a space of silence so you can really see how you're thinking and use meditation to reprogram that. Meditation should be your time of reprogramming. It's
Mhm.
not just for you to have some fantastic experience where Auntie Jackie comes down and tells you you are the chosen one. Go out and grab your sword and fight, or your dream man is gonna come, or your dream. No, that's not what it's for. Meditation is for you to one get into yourself, a hear the voices of your ancestors, and c reprogram and repurpose ideas. Repurpose the way you're thinking. See when you have that space for the 15, 20 half hour, you see all the bullshit. You
Mhm.
think of the bills, you think of, the relationship, you think of the rent and more, whatever, right? You think of everything that you're supposed, but now, right, you're thinking of these things in the meditation, you have the ability to visualize and feel. That's why we stress meditation because it puts you, when you visualize these things, you actually feel it because your brain, your heart rate has slowed down now. So all the blood is flowing through your brain. So whatever you think, you feel it in a stronger energy. Guess what? Now that energy is radiating out into the universe that you put out. So it must come back. It must come back in a circle of motion because everything, your atoms are spinning. So everything is spinning in a circle of motion or a cycle of motion. And that's what I got. Anything, ladies?
That's it. Ashe.
That's it.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Mm.
with that being said, any recommendations for the full moon before we get out of here? Recommendations from you guys of
Oh,
work. Me
I
personally, I'll start with me. I think that people. Go ahead, Mo. Go you
no,
first.
go. It's okay. You start.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think people should be doing a lot of like ritual work unless you feel like you need
Mhm.
to do it, or any like candling. This is not the time to be doing anything nefarious. Trust me. You don't want one of them spirits to attach to you and your life be going crazy out here. You don't know why because you are an untrained neophyte dabbling in the dark arts because someone online showed you it's cool. This ain't the time for that. Not Scorpio season. You'll be out here wrecked. All right. This is the time where
Mhm.
you just really want to pay attention. Like these couple of weeks, pay attention, be mindful, right? Be self aware, learn yourself. What does the next 6 months look like for you? What plans are you putting into motion? What can you put into motion? Who do you need to ask advice from? Who do you need to separate from? Really be reflective. And this is really a time you want to light candles to your ancestors, I think, for most importantly, to connect. Because again, this year is going to be full of ups and downs, right? It hasn't hit as big yet, but we already see what's happening with banking. We see what's happening in the world, right? You want to be in the space to where you know how to roll with the punches, so to speak. And if you're tapped in to what other people are saying and what other people are predicting, and you're not predicting these things for yourself, again, you're going to be in a bad spot when and if, well, not if, when, because everything is changing and America is on this downward spiral, as everybody with two eyes can see. You don't even need a third eye open to see that,
Mhm.
right? You need to really just be reflective and see what position you're going to be putting yourself in and what it is that you need to do to put yourself, and think positive, make positivity. And that sounds generic, yeah, think positive, but this is happening, this is that. But again, you're in control of your mind, you're in control of your visions, no one else. And if you
Mhm.
allow this world to take you down a dark path, then you're not tapped into the God in you, or you're not as spiritual as you say you truly are.
Yes.
Mhm.
I feel like one of the things that I like about new moons and full moons, because I work with them all the time, I work with them every cycle is what I'm trying to say. It it like I have a buildup, right? So I've been working with them. And the thing that I'm aware of with this, so the Pluto and Mars are the ruler of the eclipse. and Pluto is in Aquarius. So that means that we really are shutting down an old aspect of ourselves. Like we are being asked to come online as our God selves. And that's a process that doesn't happen all at once. But where are you in that process right now for yourself? Where are you with it? How's your faith? Do you have faith in yourself? Do you understand the workings of the universe? Do you understand the workings of your body? You're right. Like these are things that are a part of the process. So you can just see where you are with that, set intentions. The new moon, the full moon is going to come in at 10:33 Pacific Standard Time, and that is going to be on a Saturn hour. It's coming in so that means that this new moon is coming in on Saturn hour. So Saturn is in Pisces. So then that means our imagination, the amenta is going to really be stirred up. That means that inner world. And the thing to do is learn how to direct the energy. You're directing it unconsciously already. You're directing it with your thoughts. You're thinking about, oh, I need this, or I don't have that, or what kind of job. That's a directions, right? So begin to be able to wield your, what is it that where do you want your thoughts to go? Like really understand, this is the nuances of the astrology. And then, and it's coming in at the 14th degree, and the 14th degree is ruled by Venus. And Venus is in Gemini.
which
So
is ruled by Taurus.
right, exactly. That's right. So this is the math of this, right? So literally pay attention to your feelings, but see if you can learn to command them. See if
Mm.
you can become
Mhm.
a little bit more of a master of them. That's it. Just a greater level of mastery. What am I feeling now? Like I said, am I hungry? Do I really want to have sex with him? Why? You know what I mean? What am I just doing it because I'm bored, or am I doing it because I'm really interested in this exchange? Right? Like really get clear about your whys and what motivates you so that you can master your energy. So that you can master your energy. That's why. Because if you don't master it, someone else is mastering it. If you don't own it, someone else owns it.
If
Okay.
you can't use your own, someone will use yours.
Yes, that's right.
That is true.
What you got, Mel?
Um, I would have to say that death and endings are not a bad thing. And this eclipse is going to show some of us that. So, me personally, over the last couple of years, I've gone through a Pluto square. So, for those who don't know what that is, my natal Pluto has been squared to transiting Pluto. And so
Mm.
I've died a million and one deaths.
Mhm.
Not just that, Pluto is currently on my south node. And so life is ripping everything that I don't need from under my feet. It's been
Mhm.
doing that for about 4 years now. And it
Mhm.
showed me and it taught me detachment. And that's one of the themes, I think, of this particular eclipse, right? Because eclipses, it's erratic energy. It's the universe's way of moving things around. And Scorpio is death. It's
Mhm.
literally taking what we don't need, right? And we've been conditioned so heavily that endings are not good, that physical
Mhm.
death is not a good thing. It's just a transference of energy. And everything that ends is followed by a new beginning. But if you're so insistent on holding on to what's no longer serving you, you're going to miss the beauty that really awaits you. So, the
Yes.
one thing I'll say about this particular eclipse is let go, release,
Mhm.
detach, don't hold on. If it's got to die, let it die. For some, the work that you need to do with this eclipse is you need to set fire to some shit in your life. The
Mm.
universe isn't going to set fire to things for you. You've got to pour the gasoline, light that match, and be like, listen, I'm done with this.
Yes.
You've
Yes.
got to end that shit. And it starts with being aware. It starts with being conscious. It starts with being intentional. The one thing I love about Mercury retrogrades is that it allows you to be intentional, because
Mhm.
everything that you're trying to do, you keep getting tripped up. Guess what? In your mind, you're like, okay, I got to slow down. because I know that this is going to mess up. Like, I need to be intentional as I move forward. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid to set fire to certain things. If you need to burn that bridge, burn it. If you need to let go of that friendship, let it go. If you need to let go of that raggedy ass partner, please, by all means, let that person go. Right? It may be a job, it may be a mindset, it may be an emotion, it may be emotional baggage. Let it go. Because trust and believe the universe is going to rip it out of your hands anyway. So
Asha.
Yeah,
do it yourself
yeah,
or be
I
dragged,
think
basically.
Right.
I should. Yeah, and it's risky. It's risky work. It's not work that is popular. You know,
Mhm.
you have to realize accountability is not popular in modern society. Unfortunately, shame is looked down on too in modern society. There's nothing wrong again with feeling like, okay, this happened in the past, but again, it's all about looking at it and watch your ego, especially this season, these next couple of weeks, like how you're using your ego. Are you using it to just puff up your external self, to brag about how dope you are and how great you are and how fire you are, just for the sake, or are you external because of external things, or are you bigging up your internal self, how much you love yourself, how much self-worth you have within yourself, your ability to cope and get through difficulties, the way you survive different ups and downs growing up in the environments that we did. Like, those are the things that you want to value. Those are the things you want to put a spotlight on. Those are the things you want to constantly pump gratitude into. And those things help raise your vibration. Those things help spread your aura or your electromagnetic field. Those things bring more energy into your quote unquote manifestations. But the biggest manifestation, as I said before, is manifesting the God in you. And the only way you can manifest the God in you is by loving yourself and having a true knowledge of yourself and knowing that you're not this body. Like,
Mhm.
you're beyond this body. You're beyond just this physical vehicle. This is just a vehicle for you to live out your divinity. That's it. It's a vehicle for you to live out your divinity. And you're born in melanated skin so you could live in this experience as a black man, black woman, or whatever your skin type or your culture is. You're born in that culture to live out that culture and the best of that culture, right? The best parts of that culture is what you want to find and dig into and use those as ways to not only spiritually develop, not only connect with your ancestors, but also to feed yourself constant inspiration, motivation, and activation so that you could achieve not just your goals, but again, peace of mind. Because peace is what we really are seeking. The money, the boo, the big house, the big car, it's really so you could be at peace at the end of the day. And peace leads to happiness, peace leads to productivity, peace also leads to power. So really the goal for this is peace, but you can't be peaceful if you're dwelling on the negative every single day. Or, some quote unquote woke person on the internet is telling you the next bad thing that's going to happen and the next bad prediction and what you need to watch out for and what you need to be scared of and how you're spiritually under attack. No, maybe they're under spiritual attack. You are under spiritual development. And that's the mind state you need to have. No matter what happens, I'm always under spiritual development. If this shit cracks tomorrow and I'm still alive, I'm always going to be spiritually developing. Okay, this is a new challenge. What do I need to do next? Or how can I learn from this? Or what's my next position to make myself a shining star in this particular situation? And that's really the mindset that we all want to get in a space of. And with that being said, Mel, Mo, tell them where they can find you, your services, and all that good stuff.
Divine Feminine Works on all platforms. You can visit my website, divinefeminineworks.com. I do natal chart consultations, progress natal chart consultations. I also do readings, and you can find me on Instagram at Divine Feminine Works.
I can be found on all platforms at moniqueruffin.com. So Monique Ruffin is my name. And then I have a website, moniqueruffin.com, and you can find me there as well. I do natal chart readings. I do coaching, like I do therapy. Like I would say that I'm like an astrological therapist. I also teach classes to support people in healing family trauma, generational curses. I also teach classes to support people in developing their gifts, developing the gifts that have been overlooked, developing your intuition, developing your ability to build your own reality. You're developing your ability to tap into, other dimensions, like really developing your gifts so that you can be on this planet as a divine being, because that's what we need. We need people to wake up.
Yeah,
So,
we need more divine beings, and we
yeah,
need people who know the yin and yang too.
yeah,
Understand that there's going to be good and bad, that they're not so judgmental and not swayed one side. Understand that these things must exist. Like we're going to see the lunar eclipse of Scorpio is when the sun is blocked out by the moon, so it's dealing with the darkness, right? We're really on some, you don't know the power of the dark side. But you have the opportunity right now with this lunar eclipse to understand the power of your dark side, because everything that's light comes
that's
from the
right.
dark.
That's right.
Everything that you see in form is from the God mind or a mentor, as Monique was speaking of. And the reason we talk about astrology, Monique mentioned it earlier, Horus, is called the horoscope.
Hmm.
So the horoscope is really about the will of tapping into these different so-called zoomorphic or spirits, which are in the form of animals, because animals have spirit. But guess what? An animal's gonna do what an animal's gonna do. A dog's gonna be a dog, a cat's gonna be a cat, a donkey's gonna be a donkey. They're never gonna veer from that. You as the human, quote unquote, or the God body, have the ability to tap into those different energies and use them at will. So when the month comes and it's Taurus, or there's a lunar eclipse in Scorpio, it's about you tapping into that spiritual energy and see how it could benefit you and how you could use it to manifest, transmute, change, transform, manifest, excel, and how does it relate? And then you have a clear window into spirit. So the horoscope is about the Horus. Horus represents the will. So it's about putting your will into making things happen and using the energy that the planet is naturally providing you. Because remember, we're in the horoscope, so there's an animal energy or animus or animating energy that's
Hmm.
related to that spirit, right? So even if you want to dig deep, you may want to look at how does a bull operate, like look at nature. How does a scorpion move? That's how the Scorpio, that's how the horoscope came into existence. It was people over thousands and thousands of years studying animals, studying
Yeah,
seasons, seeing how this season responds, how they could plant grain, what grows, what's the best herb, right? All that is part of this work. So it's not as simple as just reading a horoscope and thinking, oh, that's it. And it's working with these energies for your benefit.
yeah.
Anything else, ladies, before I go?
Mhm.
Before we go?
I just want to say thank you to Devin and Ava and HBCU Lounge. They're bigging me up. Thank you. I love my work. I love to be able to teach people how to access themselves. It's my most favorite thing. So Rob, thank you for having me. Thanks, Mel, for being here. And I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Of course, as always, thank you,
Mhm.
ladies. I appreciate your time and energy.
Thank you.
Happy full moon to everybody. Hope you guys are rolling into your best self, right? That's what we're here for, spiritual development. And with that said, peace, power, and prosperity. Rob Blackstorm, Mel, Divine Feminine Works, Monique Murphy, the Moon Mama. Again, find them on social, tap into their services. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Peace,
Peace.
everyone.